Check, check. Oh, boy. Wow. Very white coming at you. Fierce. Play and then next. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Setting myself up for success here. 2, Craig. From Rick. Subject. Really important. Do you like Depeche Mode? Erasure. Pet Shop Boys. So on the surface, Rick and I are really similar people. We're both we're both Libras. We're both about the same build. We're both generally jovial, and we're both considered tall only by children and people sitting down. But what separates us is he is incomprehensibly proficient with music. So much so that whenever we jam, I liken it to miniature golfing with Tiger Woods. Like, you might learn a few tricks here and there, but really it's going to be a pretty humbling experience. Now, me, musically, if you were to venture a guess at any point after I was a sophomore in high school, like superficially, what kind of music are you into? What kind of music do you like to play? You'd probably guess me either fast or very fast and probably really angry sounding. And to a large extent, you'd be correct. However, I do own upstairs at Eric's, and not 1, but 2 Flesh for Lulu records. That's it? There's only 2 Flesh for Lulu fans? Expansive universe here? Okay, so from 1990 to 2000, I had a band called Your Mother. And we existed solely, well, not solely, but primarily to irritate and annoy people. First off, most of our songs were about either farting or masturbating, or when we got all the stars to align, both. And we would just, like, in any attempt or any opportunity to really annoy each other, we would just do it. So one time our drummer had read in this recipe magazine that do not use too much brewer's yeast as it will cause excessive gas, which was written as a warning that don't use, but to us it was like, we need to get bulk brewer's yeast in the van stacked to have on the ready. Also in our van, imagine you're on tour, you're with these guys for weeks on end, and you're in this van with no windows except for the front window. So two of the guys decided we're going to install this floor to ceiling window just behind the driver's seat, and which is that's prime real estate. But they gave us the rule that you could only sit in that window if you were butt naked. Which, but first off, okay, you got to be butt naked if you want to sit there. Secondly, you don't want to be the next person to sit in that seat, and you also don't want to be sitting in the seat next to that seat, to the butt naked person sitting there. We had in the '90s there was this kind of trend going in music where bands were down tuning their guitars so they could sound lower and evil or doomier. And so we thought all right, the obvious thing is to tune up. We'll tune our guitars a little higher, and we'll sing at a higher pitch. And even pushing it even further, our drummer replaced all of his crash cymbals with China cymbals. It was a magical ensemble, trust me. Actually, I've got an idea. Hold on one sec. I'm going rogue. Way ahead of schedule, picking up the guitar. We had a hit song. Trust me, you'll understand. Its genius is subtle, but I think that you're an apt audience to appreciate it. It kind of went a little little out of tune. Bear with me. Okay. I know a song that'll get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I know a song that'll get on your nerves, and so does Nick. Take it away, Nick.
I know a song that'll get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I know a song that'll get on your nerves, and so does Tyler.
Take it, Tyler.
I know a song that'll get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I know a song that'll get on your nerves, so does Jamie.
Okay, so you see where this is heading.
Sorry. There you go.
It's really kind of magical in that, first off, keep in mind what we were trying to attempt to do was annoy and irritate. So that song, if you stop it anywhere before the end of it, that's kind of irritating. It's annoying, like you didn't have the resolve of getting that last chord to help you, like, you know, have some sense of completion. But then you end that verse with somebody else's giving a directive to somebody else. So if you stop it right there, suddenly Nick or Tyler is left hanging, and you have to move on. Like it's cyclical in its annoyance. If you leave tonight with one tune rolling in your head, I really hope it is that one, and that you will still be singing it the next time we see each other. Let's see here. Let's move on. I've already gone way off script here, so let's reel it back in. So the thing is this was the 90s, and back in the 90s, that kind of thing was acceptable. I mean, how else do you explain King Missile or the Butthole Surfers or the Flaming Lips? Like, those bands had hits on the radio, like something was happening. So it was not unthinkable when we were asked this band, Your Mother, was asked to play this show with some pretty well-respected bands at this kind of revered New Year's Eve show. And so, we did it. And the caveat being, though, that we had to perform as a metal band. And so we decided, well, we'll be Guns N' Roses. And so for the next month, we spent our time trying to learn the Appetite for Destruction record as best we could. Now, that show was such a success and so much fun that, people at that show tried to get us to, like, play another show and more shows. And so now, this is, like, back in the late 90s, like, that band, Your Mother, long broke up. But this band that we started, like, still goes to this day. Now, as I said, we were a Guns N' Roses tribute band, and I don't know how many people are that familiar with the Guns N' Roses oeuvre, but on their first main record, Appetite for Destruction, the final song was Rocket Queen. And so yeah, Rocket Queen, oh my God! That was the in case you couldn't see her face, that was what it was saying. So we called ourselves the Rocket Queens, which, if you take something sacred like Guns N' Roses, and you add like just a pinch of homoeroticism to it, be careful while you're on the internet, because there are people waiting in line to punch you in the dick. I promise you. And even pushing it even further, we took like equally irreverent and kind of derivative names. So our singer was Asshole Rose, and we had Jizzy, and we had Muff, and I was Slosh, and best yet, the original drummer for Guns N' Roses is Steven Adler, and our drummer, Seaman Handler. Homoerotic tip number 2, just for anyone keeping track of the internet. But being in the Rocket Queens, this Guns N' Roses tribute band, it set me up for that email from Rick twofold. First off, I didn't realize how stupidly lucrative it was being in a cover band. No matter how much time or money or passion or like energy or love you put into your own personal projects, none of them will get paid like a band like the Rocket Queens will get paid. Similarly, of all my projects, like none of them have got invited to play at the Prince of Dubai's birthday party, like the Rocket Queens did. Nobody shows their boobs at any other of my bands but the Rocket Queens, But it's okay, because I should remind you, I should point out, that band stopped practicing in 2002. It's not like we're learning new material, so why would we waste the energy doing that? And in fact, our mission statement expressly states that we try to recreate the Guns N' Roses of 1986, when they were young and brash and like really conveniently for us, really drunk and really sloppy. So we would mess up really, like royally, play really terribly, and it wouldn't matter. We would just kind of like asshole would fire the guy who messed up the song in true Guns N' Roses fashion. We would play up how drunk we were, and then we would just kind of all call it part of the act. And in fact, that act was so successful that we decided to also start a Scorpions tribute band so that we could open for ourselves and get paid twice and get double the drink tickets. So secondly, the Rocket Queens set me up for Rick's email because it taught me the power that a cover band has over a sea of drunk people. As soon as I put on that curly black wig and that top hat, it's like something Harry Potter-ish. Like, people instantly treat me differently. They're coming up, they're having me sign things, they're buying me drinks, and they're, like air guitaring at me and stuff. And again, I just need to write, we're terrible. We built, in a sea of hyperbole, we built ourselves publicly as San Francisco's worst GNR tribute band. And yet people still show up to just be part of the spectacle. And it's just, worth noting, it's a lesson that I learned. So, But back to Rick, if we can circle back around to the top of the story. So Rick, he's the consummate musician. He's the musician's musician. He teaches multiple instruments as like a profession. He plays live almost every night. He'll do like one night you'll see him playing guitar with Greg Kinn at the Shoreline Amphitheater, and the next night he'll be in a tuxedo playing an upright bass at like a private Google party. But what all these experiences, in his business savvy, what he was gathering is what the Rocket Queens already knew, and that was that the real money was in 80s tribute bands. Hence the email to me. No, and Rick kind of knew of my sissy Nancy boy music proclivities, because at one point in the past we had recorded a 15-song, 10-minute Cure medley, which definitely, like, I'm not allowed into any Exodus concert based solely on that recording. As Gren mentioned, I'm an air guitarist, and just to kind of expound on that, I'm actually a professional air guitarist, meaning that I actually get paid to do air guitar. And I know that sounds really ridiculous and really silly, and that's because it's incredibly ridiculous and incredibly silly. But the fact remains, that's actually, at this point in time, that was like the bulk of my income came from doing professional air guitar gigs. However, as a independent contractor, sometimes the work ebbs and flows, and at this particular moment in time, like, I could use some work, So I said, hey Rick, I will join your 80s cover band. Am I possibly coming through the modulator as well?
Yeah.
That's
Hold this for a second.
Bitonal. Where it was. Okay, so I tell DJ Real, everybody, behind the controls. That's like, oh, well, sorry, this story is going to take a downturn because I lost my own. Thanks to DJ Real. So I tell Rick, yes, I will join your 80s cover band. And so a few days later, I get a call from the manager, and he's this Frenchman who's also one of the singers, but his gift is really in promotion. And so he tells me kind of what's happening, what the band's about, what kind of pants I should wear, all sorts of different stuff. And he also says that our first gig is going to be in 10 days. And then he emails me this Excel spreadsheet with 60 songs on it that I need to learn in 10 days. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's like, you've got the artist, you've got the beats per minute, the key, which album version it is, and all manner of details that I have never ever considered before playing a song before. So I'm thinking, like, 60 songs in 10 days, is that possible? For Rick, yeah, absolutely, no problem. That guy can do anything. But for me, yeah, not so much. So I immediately dig my heels in, and I start kind of like assessing what I've got to do. And first thing I realize, it's 80s pop music. So 2/3 of the song, no guitar, no problem. Done. But that still leaves me 20 songs that I've got to figure out by the following weekend. So I dig in a little further. And the problem with the kind of 80s music is that it was just mired in reverbs and modulations and delays and all sorts of stuff that just make it almost impossible to discern a guitar from a lute or a saxophone. It's just, and then you add to that the fact that these people playing the guitar are totally untrained yahoos who need these effects to like mask their unorthodox playing. And to be fair, I probably just described myself as well. But so I'm trying to figure all these things out. And so as I'm doing this, I'm just emailing Rick, just email after email, like, hey Rick, so I'm not sure. This is a tall order. I'm not. And he keeps emailing back. Oh man, you got this. This is perfect for you. No problem. I'm like, no, okay, all right, so how can you help me with this part? And he'd be like, oh, yeah, don't worry though, you got this. So here's blah, blah, blah. And he would send me these handwritten musical charts on how to play these seemingly simple 80s pop songs. And the whole time I'm like, oh, Rick, man, this is crazy. You can't expect anyone to decipher what this shit is. This is crazy. And he's like, no, man, trust me, you got this. I'm like, all right, so I'm just gonna give you an example. I did find an example of, dear Rick, what is that last chord at the end of the chorus in Heart of Glass? To which Rick responds, I'm playing a descending E figure in the 7th position, alternating an octave on the 5th and 2nd strings. The notes basically go low E, high E, major 7th, 5th. Then the harmony goes to C sharp for one bar, followed by C sharp minor. But then back to the tonic. The chorus goes A, followed by E, A, F sharp, B 7th, and then back to the tonic. There's a figure in the mix that's based on a vibrato setting, but the busy 16th note, the setting pattern, that's what I'm playing. Dude, you got this. So I asked Rick, like, are we gonna have any practices before the show? And he's like, no. These people are professionals who show up knowing your parts, which sucks for me personally, right? So, I keep getting all these things from Rick, and I'm trying to like make sense of all the stuff that he's like trying to show me, and let me find my place, to be perfectly honest. Again, off script here. We'll go back here. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, Rick's sending me these like really elaborate explanations on how to play these parts, and eventually the sheer amount of the volume of emails that I'm sending him, he just writes back with like, "Hey man, it's cool. You got this." That's all he'll write back. "You got this. You got this." So it's like not even helpful anymore, except for like some sort of like ego trip. And I'm thinking like, how does this possibly help? So in his effort to promote, the Frenchman contacts me and he says, "Hey, we're gonna have a photo shoot before the show," which then we parlay into a practice. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, at least I get to meet these people that I'm gonna play music with, maybe learn a few things on the side, hang out with Rick, whatever. So we do this kind of thing. So we meet in this Musicians Union Hall south of Market. And I walk in, and the first three people right up in front that I see are the singers. First off is the Frenchman singer, and he introduces me to everybody else. And then there's the female singer who's an artist, an actress, a singer, a model. You get the picture of this kind of person, a story unto herself, which I will spare you, I promise. And then the third singer is this guy who's like straight up Crockett from Miami Vice. He's got the linen jacket, the kind of pastel V-neck shirt, he's got the loafers, and I'm like, oh, this dude showed up like dressed already in costume. He doesn't need to change for the photo shoot. Fast forward to when we actually start doing the photo shoot, he pulls out a different linen jacket and a different pair of loafers, and I think, whoa, you actually rode the bus here in your regular day clothes, and you look like Crockett 24/7. So that was that guy that I had to deal with. So then behind them, it starts setting up. So they're up at the front, they're the three singers, they're kind of like the presentation of the band. And behind them is Rick and I. And Rick has set up this very elaborate, expansive guitar effects pedal setup. And it's like 10 deep of just all these different things that can make any sound that you could possibly imagine. He's got guitar stands, he's got amp stands, he's got music stands, he's got all sorts of guitar ephemera that, like, you know, I would never spend that money on. Like, he's Guitar Center's dream, basically. And then meanwhile, I'm over here with a $100 Korean Stratocaster knockoff, and then a combo amp that has years and years worth of bubble gum mashed into the grate just to keep that front grate from falling off. So we start kind of like, but then behind us then is Ed. Ed is a father of three and a true, genuine, to the heart geek, like massive geek. Like he's building the monument to 80s pop music, the keyboard bunker. He's just surrounded, he's got keyboards, he's got MIDI controllers, he's got laptops, he's got USB ports everywhere. It's like, I've never played in a band with a guy with a keyboard, much less a USB anything kind of thing. So, but what Rick has done is Rick has actually pre-programmed all of the drums and bass for all of these songs we're gonna do. And if I were to fast forward even further, he was so good at recreating all these things that the bands we were covering, when our songs kind of got out there on the internet, those original bands actually contacted him to try and get those patches because theirs were lost to time and drugs. Like, he was so good at creating these things. So anyway, that's just to give you an idea. Like the foundation, the bedrock of these songs was pretty solid. He had some talent in that regard. So we're playing song after song, and like my method for if I'm going to learn a song, like let's say back to the Guns N' Roses stuff, I'm going to learn an iconic solo from a Guns N' Roses song. I'll start by just learning those like main melodic keys in it, like the notes that everybody can recognize and hum along, and then everything in between, I just kind of my way through. You know, like just kind of, and there's the big note again. You know that foot on the monitor note, but everything in between is just kind of like. So, because I just feel like if I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail with like a little bit of dignity. So I at least learn all the like key things so that when I step forward, I got the right note, and then I can step back in the shadows like a bass player should. And so, somewhere on the song list we get to "Send Me an Angel" by Real Life, and according to the spreadsheet, it's the 1983 European 6-minute B-side version that we're gonna play. So, scene change. Okay, so we're kind of like we're barreling through it. Let me explain first this song. It's particularly this version of the song. It's a 6-minute song, but there's only 15 seconds of guitar in the whole song. And it's not till 4 minutes and 11 seconds into the song. So it's 4 minutes and 11 seconds that I get to just kind of hang out, check, see if I got any texts, maybe, and just kind of, basically what I end up doing is psyching myself out during that 4 minutes. And meanwhile, Rick, by the way, is just sitting over on his little, like, pedestal of guitar effects, and he's like effortlessly playing like guitar, but he's like, oh, you know what? I think I'll solo on top of that with a trumpet solo. It's just so effortless over here with all of his stuff. And like at one point he kind of leans over and he's like, hey man, I noticed you weren't playing those other parts, but you know, I'm not going to be there for our first show. You should probably learn these parts that I'm playing too. Like my anxiety is just pinned at this point. So by the time we get to this song, like I'm just laser focused, just sublimely paying attention to every note I've got to play. So, and this is how that point in the practice goes. A lot of waiting, a lot of waiting. With those 15 seconds, and I blew it. 15 seconds in a 6-minute song is 4% of the song. I got 1%, and it was only one note 3 times that I got right. And then I've got 2 minutes left of the song to sit there and think about what I've done. So when the song ends, I'm trying to like pull myself together, and you know, and I muster up the courage. It's like that was one of the songs where I learned all those like main notes, and I think I can successfully bumble my way through the rest. You know, so I get up the courage, and it's like, Ed, man, can we try that song again, just one more time? And he looks over at Rick, and Rick looks back at Ed and kind of gives this what I realized in hindsight was a very knowing subtextual nod. Like, yeah. And so clickety clack. Ed kind of cues up the song, is doing some other sort of like Mac magic back there. And the song starts again. And this time, for about 4 minutes, I'm not getting psyched out. I'm getting psyched up. I'm gonna nail this one. So I get my clammy hands where they're supposed to go. I assume what I call is the action stance, like I'm about to sprint off into the netherworld. I'm not missing a note. And all of a sudden it dawns on me like, my guitar is off. But I still heard the solo. How is that possible? Again, I've got 2 minutes to think about what just happened before I can confer with anybody about this. And I kind of have this quiet realization like, okay, so Rick and Ed, they met in an Nerd Alert online forum for the recording software Reaper. And so they've created the drums and the bass. Is it not unthinkable that they kind of maybe recorded a little more than that? And so after the song's over, I was like, hey, what just happened? And like, oh, we just recorded or turned on the guitar solo track. I'm like, so wait, you've recorded everything? Oh, they're like, oh yeah, we just on and off, whatever you want. You don't need to know anything. I was like, whoa. You brought me in to play guitar for this band, but what you really wanted was me to air guitar with a guitar? That's meta on meta. Dude, I totally got this. I am uniquely qualified for this role. Thank you, Rick, for bringing me on board. And so the rest of the practice just flies by. Suddenly I'm actually learning the parts because the stress is gone. There's nothing like standing in my way. So, in the words of renowned air guitarist Bjorn Turoque, the more you learn, the less you earn. meaning that I can sit and study my Teutonic modes all day, but the easy money is not in there. So I did, for the next year and a half in that band, what every 80s pop star was doing in the mid-2000s, and that was focusing all of my attention, instead of trying to sound good, just trying to look good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a little break so you can put more things in your little mason jars and